Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom podcast. This is episode number 2. I am Tyler Yaw, and with me is my co-host Chris Kellum, and our special guest today is Thaddeus Brown.
Hey, how are you?
Go ahead, Chris. Tell us what we're sipping on today.
All right. So for our first sip is going to be a very interesting whiskey. I've never heard of them before. It's called Bearproof, which is out of Montana. I think Tyler's wife was kind enough to bring it back a couple months ago. This thing is clean. It has huckleberries in it because that's apparently what's found up in around Glacier National Park. And it smells amazing. Like apparently they thought of this when they were bored and stuck in a snowstorm. They're like, oh, let's put this together. But no, these are from Montana. They're in just traditional barrel aged, and they use that huckleberry juice to like give it a little bit more flavor. But I was surprised just smelling it. I was like, this is gonna be good. So cheers.
Ooh.
That was good.
All right. The way I've enjoy starting these off is kind of doing a small introduction of our special guest here and how I met them. And I think you'll find throughout the podcast that I've met these people in a bunch of different weird ways. How I met Thaddeus is pretty cool, to be honest. How we became friends on Instagram, I'm still not 100% sure. I was probably going through just trying to build content for another business or something and just happened across them. And the thing that made Thaddeus stick out to me is he was posting about his business. And while he was doing it, he was having a freaking fantastic time and always funky music, loving what he's doing, explaining what he sees when he's going to these different job sites. And ironically, or maybe unironically, I needed my house pressure washed. And I went to my wife and I was like, hey, I know we use this guy in our neighborhood, but this guy needs to be hired from us. He is awesome. I love everything he's posting on Instagram. He's just a good person, good energy. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. She was like, okay. And so I sent him a message. I was like, hey, how about you send us a invoice and everything? He came over. I was at work. My wife and my mom were actually at the house at the time when he was pressure washing, and kind of told them like what was going on with our house, what needed to be done. Called me or texted me and told me about what was going on and stuff too, which no one has ever done ever for pressure washing. So that was huge. So just taking a few extra moments to explain what they see going on and how they plan on fixing it or mitigating it. Just those few extra moments meant a lot to me. And what even meant more is I have a newborn son, or not newborn, he's a year and a half now. But my son loves standing at the window. And Thaddeus and his partner who was helping him pressure washing the house was like showing him lizards and stuff outside the house.
Frogs and stuff.
Yeah, and frogs and whatnot. And he loved it. So you never get that personal touch anymore in business, unfortunately. And Thaddeus hit every single mark. When Chris and I got together and we were talking about the first person we wanted to bring onto the podcast, I was like, Thaddeus is that number one person. I'm bringing him on. People need to hear about this customer service that's still out there that you can still provide if you're not providing it. And just watching the stories he's posted on Instagram, I knew he had a fantastic story. So I'm going to shut up now because I've been talking too much. And Thaddeus, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today in Wilmington and with your business.
Hell, that's how I got here. My name's Thaddeus. I'm 30 years old, owner and operator of Sea Spray Exterior Cleaning. None of that really matters. My name's Thaddeus. I worked really hard to get where I was. Long story short, you got to lose it all a couple times to get where you want to be. And the way I run my business is everyone's a human. Excuse me. A lot of businesses and just life in general, there's no human connection or emotion. And not everybody's a dollar. And that's the biggest thing to me. So taking the time out, I seen the little kids see the tree frog. I grabbed the tree frog, made the kid's day. Mm-hmm. But there's things, I don't know how to explain it at a surface level, if that makes sense. Like, point blank, we're all animals.
Yeah.
And society has made it to where we can't be animals and coexist the way we're supposed to. And if you don't do the things that society says you should do and tap into your animal spirit, you can tell when someone's mad, you can tell when someone's happy, you can tell when someone's upset. So you have to do these things, not necessarily out of fakeness or things like that, but just to keep people happy and stay positive, because everyone goes through hells. So if you look at someone like they're just another dollar, or, oh, I got 10 jobs today, and you don't take that extra step and things like that, you don't connect with people. And that's the biggest thing. The connections and the way you connect with people is what lasts more than anything else. The dollars come and go, but people stay. We got at least 70 years on this earth. Yeah. I give everybody I know $100 right now. The $100 is gone as soon as they hit the grocery store. So that's how I look at it. I call it a sandwich theory. If I washed your house, I never washed your house, right?
Yeah.
But if I have bread, he has meat, and you have cheese, and the world ends, that is it. There's no more money, none. And this is literally how I base my business. So this is how it is right here. I have bread, he has meat, you have cheese. The world ends. We're running for our lives because something's chasing us, a dinosaur. We're starving. I see him in the woods, and I'm like, yo, I got bread. He's like, yo, I got cheese. And we're like, all right, this guy has meat. You two know each other, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if I asked you, hey, look, I know you have a family, but I have a loaf of bread. Do you mind sharing some of your meat?
Yeah.
All right? You would share it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we earned that mutual respect. We're buddies. We're cool. Yeah. I don't know you from a hole in the wall yet. Not to say that in a rude way, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know you from a hole in the wall yet. So if I came to you, but let's say I did wash house and I just showed up, washed house, see you later, customer number 5. That's it. You're like, this guy just took my money. I don't know what else, guys. If I asked you for a piece, hey, he's got meat. You gonna give me the meat?
You're like, no.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And I don't do it out of the sense of I want something. I do it because it's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? And that's literally the theory that I run my business off of. Not off the end of the world or anything, just off of helping each other. And, there's a million pressure wash companies. And there's a bunch of companies here that I help and interact with all the time. I get phone calls all day long. Hey, how do I do this? This is how you do it. People from Atlanta, Texas, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And that's the basis of it, to be honest. It's not about the money. It's about human connection. And not in a false sense. I don't connect with people to get anything out of it. You know what I mean? Little things, hey, show up to a house, get an estimate. Why are you getting your house washed today? Oh, my son's graduation's up in 2 days. Or, we're having a graduation party here. Cool. So you know what? Now I know they're having a graduation party. They just want their vinyl house washed. Yeah. I see the deck's a little green. I'll clean the deck for free. Why? Yeah. Not only because it's slippery, but because guess what? When they take those graduation pictures,
it's going to look good.
You know what I mean? That little extra step there. And then guess what? A week later, hey, how was your son's graduation party? Not because it's a follow-up, because I care. I want to know how the party went. Were you guys happy? Good? Great. That's my goal. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about.
I love those personal connections.
Yeah, you never see it anymore. It's fantastic. And we've just kept on going with, created this friendship out of that too. I mean, which is even more valuable than my house being clean, right? Like,
and that's the goal behind it. You know what I mean? It's not because everybody could make money. You know what I mean? There's money a million different ways. People are selling pictures of stuff online for millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Money's there. And yes, okay, we live in a capitalist society, so you have to make money. But at the end of the day, if all this crumbles, every dollar disappears, what do we have? Exactly. If you don't have connections, you might know how to hunt. I know how to kill a deer. Mm-hmm. He knows how to fish. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We got to work together here, people, because guess what? You kill a 180-pound buck, you're only dragging that thing 3-4 miles up the road right. Before one of us got to grab it. And that's just the basis of it. We're supposed to be hunters, gatherers, and providers, and people lost that because of these politics, society quotes, things like that. You know what I mean? Simple. Keep it simple.
Exactly right. I was telling Chris about you actually on our first episode that we dropped last week, and was talking about your come up in New York. So I want to hear a little bit about that, kind of where you came from up there and the type of customers that you had working up there.
So in New York, I did a plethora of things to get, to just survive. So at one point in my life, I was given an opportunity, which actually changed my life. My buddy Dan Gruen, he worked for a company called HCMC NY. And what they were like a full maintenance property management company on all the house, not all, but a good 3/4 of the house on the east end of Long Island. So Michael J. Fox, stuff like that, like these big name celebrity houses, you know, I would do the same thing I'm doing here just on them, you know, watching them doing this, doing that. And I grew up real poor. There's an inlet that separates the Hamptons from where I'm from, Mastic Shirley.
Okay.
Mastic Shirley is a little armpit derelict fishing town. There's some great people there. I love it. Shout out to my hometown.
Yeah, right.
But it's not an environment that you want to be in, especially, you know, when you're a poor kid and, you know, there's a lot of bad influences in that area, really to get caught up and stuff. But anyway, so that being able to work there, you know, the first time I walked into one of those houses, I was like, hell, I'll put it to you like this. I thought you were rich if you grew up in a 2-story house. If you grew up in a 2-story house and had heat year round, I thought, you know, if you had heat and food in your fridge, I was like, oh, you got it, man. You know what I'm saying?
I remember those days.
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, you have stairs in your house?"
Yeah, exactly. You're not drawing in frost on the windows in the wintertime. And so when I walked into those houses, I was like, holy shit. Like, do you see this here? And then, you know, just being able to talk to some of those homeowners and people and stuff like that, like I realized there was a world out there. I didn't even know there was as many colleges in the world until like 2 years ago when I walked into some dude's house. He had like NC State this and this and this. And I was like, what is all this stuff? He's like, oh, these are all different colleges. And then when I worked at Duke Energy too, they all had these different colleges. And I'm like,
What?
yeah, this exists. Like, you know what I mean? But so there I worked on the mansions and stuff like that, did property management. One of the owners of the Carolina Panthers, his house we maintained. The owners of like the Tanger outlets, those houses, I mean, Olympic swimming pool. Hell, we used to work by, I never worked on it. I'd be lying if I said I worked on it, but we used to work by, I guess it was the owner of Old Hummer, the old owner of Hummer's house from what, you know, legend has it.
Yeah.
No exaggeration. This house and property is probably like a quarter of the size of Wilmington. Olympic swimming pools, watchtowers, guest house, helipad, you name it, acres on the beach. So like seeing that, I think I was like 17, seeing that really changed my mind on what's out there in the world. And then, so, you know, I got into it, one of my bosses there, because a guy lied about some things. He was drinking on the job, stuff like that, you know, real class A character. And I've always been a straight up guy. I tell you the truth. You don't want to hear the truth, see you later. So I left. And then I became a tech, and I started working on like tow trucks, like, oh, whatever, you name it, building race cars, stuff like that. And then I got the opportunity to be an Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche technician. So I was probably 18, 19, somewhere around there. 19, I think I did it from like 19 to 25 before I said the hell with it. So I worked on, you know, Audis, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Bentleys, you name it. One of those couple of rappers' cars. My buddy's dad had a body shop too that I worked part-time at, and worked on like, let's name Tony Ayo from G-Unit, his Bentley, stuff like that. It was there. I don't remember if I personally worked on it or not, but I'm almost positive I did. But anyway, so stuff like that. And then one day I got the opportunity, and I sanded hardwood floors, did a bunch of different stuff up there. But then I got the opportunity to move to the Carolinas and ended up in Charlotte. When I first got to Charlotte, I needed a job bad. I had like a 1994 Jeep Grand Cherokee with like 300,000 miles on it, and I was driving. And I was building boat docks on Lake Norman for like $10 an hour. Sweat. Dying out there, man. That's no joke.
It is not.
Yeah, that's no joke. And then you jump in the lake, talk about jump in the lake, cool off. No, that lake is like 89 degrees. And so I did that. And then I was like, the hell with it. And then I quit, and I got the opportunity to be a building engineer. Well, a building facilities and just whatever the job title is, pretty much a glorified maintenance man. Mm-hmm. And I did that in Charlotte for 2 years through a company, Jones Lang LaSalle. And I worked on all the Duke Energy buildings, so like the big one by the Panther Stadium and stuff and all that. Maintained all their HVAC, electrical, you name it, stuff like that. Got a couple, you know, little certifications, all this stuff. But it was super cool because when they do the jet flybys, you're right there. Like you're on the 49th floor. And then games and stuff, you could stand there and watch the games. And
that's a nice
I'm
view.
sure that HVAC was always
something's always freaky, man. Those buildings made me so much money, man. Those buildings were a payday, and I was on call a lot. And every time I was on call, a pipe would bust or this or that. So I just there was money. I'm on the way. See you later. You know what I mean? And then I moved to Wilmington, and Wilmington was a fun one. My welcome to Wilmington was an ass kicking. So I moved here with a little bit of money saved up, somewhere around 10 to 15,000, something like that. Plan was to buy a house. I took this job as an apartment maintenance guy because it came with the apartment. You know what I mean? It was an easy segue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the guy wanted me to lie about some mold, and so the woman who lived there was like, I don't know, old, up there, way up there. And she kept saying she was getting sick. So I opened up the filters and stuff, opened up the air system, took the little door off so you could see the blower wheel, and the thing was full of mold. And I told my supervisor at the time, I was like, this thing's full of mold. Like, we got to do something here. He's like, oh, just sign off and say it's done. The lady's crazy. I was like, I'm not signing off on this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then, he puffed his chest out. You're going to do what I say because I'm your boss. So I told him, I said, number one, you ain't going to talk to me like that. I'm a man before this job. Yeah. And number two, I said, it's not right. It's immoral what you're doing here. I'm not signing that. So we exchanged words. I told him however he wanted to react, he could react, and I'll react the same way.
Right.
And then pretty much I shook his hand and told him, have a great day. And then I loaded up my truck to move out. And as soon as I finished loading up my truck, now mind you, I'm a mechanic, so this one really hurt. I loaded up my truck and went to start it. I had at this time, all my cars, literally like the whole 2 weeks, and there's people that have vouched for this, the whole 2 weeks before I moved to Wilmington, every car I owned blew up. Everything. My Jeep crapped the bed. I bought a little Civic. The head gasket went. I put a new head gasket, time belt, water pump on it. That went. So I bought this little Chevy Aveo. It didn't have AC. I was like, I'm moving. I need something with AC because it's hot as dog. It's in Wilmington. That thing, I sold it for $900 and bought this little truck because I needed something. And plus, I had to move all that stuff. A little hatchback Chevy Aveo ain't going to cut it.
Nope.
So I bought this 1983 Ford Ranger 5-speed. Beautiful truck. It only had 19,000 miles on it, dude.
Wow.
I bought it from a chicken farmer. He literally bought it.
Oh, he just went up it.
Yep. He's like, I ain't never took it on the interstate. You know what I mean? I bought it. You want some truth? As soon as I got home, since I drove it like 20 miles home, the water pump started leaking. So literally it's like 8 o'clock at night. Before I got to start my job the next day,
you had to
I'm doing a water pump, doing a new thermostat, new belt. I throw all that together, get in this truck. Damn thing only does 55 miles an hour. I'm doing 55 all the way to 55.
You were coming from Charlotte.
Yeah, loaded. Surfboards in there, fishing poles, bed, couch, you name it. Anyway, so I load my truck up to move, turn the key, the damn starter exploded. Cost me like $600 to have the starter replaced. I was pissed because I couldn't do it in the drive.
Yeah, you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah. So boom, I moved to the next place. Fast forward 2 weeks, I got the next place. Boom, working. I was doing the hell was I doing at that time? I was doing HVAC, and I was doing this garbage truck thing where you go to all these apartments and take all the garbage and throw them out. And I was using my little truck for it. Had some extra money. I was like, saving up to buy a house, saving up to buy a boat. Had enough money to get the boat. I was like, you know what? Let me treat myself. I got a spot. I can keep the boat.
Yeah. Go
to buy the boat. Truck blows up again. Transmission. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So then I had that replaced. Got rid of the damn truck. Bought another car. Had 2 cars. Bought another car. And then after I bought the other car, what happened? Oh, yeah. I went up to New York to go striped bass fishing for the weekend.
Yeah.
Came back down. Couldn't get back down because Florence hit.
Oh.
Everything I had floated. No. So that was my intro to Wilmington. And then I just sat down. I was sitting there and I was like, damn, what the hell am I going to do? You know what I mean? I couldn't work because everything's flooded. I was like, what am I going to do? That's kind of when I realized you got to go out here and get it for yourself, dude. So that day is when I was just I don't know, that's something, you could call it God, you could call it Jesus, whatever religious person you want to call it that something. Just grabbed me by the back of my neck, stood me up and said, get it together, dude. So then I stayed doing HVAC for a little bit. Then I worked at St. James doing HVAC and all different stuff there. And then I worked on the weekends and little by little, $20 here, $50 here, put that away, put this away. I bought a $50 pressure washer. I bought a brand new surface cleaner. I bought a couple little things for chemicals, things like that. And I hit the damn ground running. And then luckily I was able to buy a house with a couple of little things I saved in a tax return. And as soon as I bought the house, the day I bought my house, and the keys were in my hand, I called the job because those jobs, man, there's no real leadership. Everybody wants to be a manager. Everybody wants to be a boss. Everybody wants to be a leader. But they have to understand when you're a boss or a leader, you come last. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Well, hunters go out or, anything. You go out. I'll put it back to prehistoric time. If you're a hunter, you go out and kill and bring that back to your family and everyone else eats and you eat last.
Yes.
Right.
People, management, bosses, leaders, we'll use quotes on leaders and bosses. They don't understand that when you lead, you have to lead open-minded. Your way might be right, but his way, there's hammers, there's screwdrivers, there's pliers. You can't use a plier to unscrew a screw. You can't use a hammer to take a bolt off. Well, you can, but you get what I'm saying?
It's not the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, so you lead, but you have to listen to the people. And you have to put yourself underneath these people. You have to, as they're climbing up, you're helping them. You know what I mean? It's not, but they're standing on your back. You know what I mean? So if a hunter went out and missed a shot, no one's eating. But if he teaches everyone how to shoot, he doesn't have to go out and shoot all the time. That's why I left there, just because those people were just communication issues, yada, yada, you name it. But great people. But it just wasn't for me. But the day the keys were in my hand, I quit and I hit the ground running. I printed out like 10,000 of these little flyers. I put them out every morning. I'd get up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, put them out, and then I'd go work the garbage truck job at night. I still did that because I needed to do something.
Yeah.
And then just any little odds and ends hustles, did it. And I guess you could say here I am. But the work's not done. It's never done.
It's always doing something.
Yeah. That's the gist of it, Just work, just hustle.
So I'm going to go back because I was joking about this earlier. You're from New York.
Yeah.
New York, as a Southerner, is the city. But you're from Long Island.
Yeah.
And you're not from Long Island City.
No. All right. So New York.
Yeah.
There's the 5 boroughs. There's, Manhattan, Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Staten Island.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the 5 boroughs. So if you live, and Queens and Brooklyn are on Long Island.
Yeah.
So if you live in those or the island, you're from New York. Now, no disrespect to anyone else, but I'll say it. I'm going to say it clear and loud and clear too. If you don't live in Manhattan or one of the boroughs or on the island, as soon as you cross that Hudson, you live in Pennsylvania. I don't care what you got to say. That's Pennsylvania or Canada or something else. It's not New York because there's cows up there. There's chickens. It's country as could be.
You don't call it upstate New York?
It's upstate, but, back home we call it, man, you live in Pennsylvania. You live in, you know what I mean?
I told him, too. I was like, I'm going to ask him. Where do you consider upstate to begin?
As soon as you leave...
You cross the river. You're like...
So Shecknatty, all that stuff. However, Schenectady, however the hell you say it. Westchester, that's kind of Pennsylvania too, man. Because,
true.
It's just a different... If the subway don't go there...
It's not part of it.
Yeah. Well, you can't take... You can because the Greyhound and stuff like that. Right. But, yeah, it's just different. You'd have to go there to see it. Because, people... Like you said, it's a big city. The city's only... Hell, the city ain't that big, dude.
It's really not.
No, and then... You got the island, which is pretty big, but then outside of that, it's really country. It's really, and it's some parts of it are scary country. Not even on, not even on anything political or race or anything. It's just country. What do you guys do out here?
We ride.
Yeah. Nothing. I swear nothing. You're like, oh, look, a cow. And then 6 more hours and you're like, oh, look, there's 2 cows. I wonder if you know what I mean? And an old house. But it's cool up there. It's pretty up there in the mountains and stuff, but it's not feasible. It's not New York. It is, but it's not. It's a different New York.
Yeah. No, I met somebody when she moved down here and we were meeting up and hanging out. I was like, oh, hey, so where are you from? She's like, New York. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I know somebody from Long Island. She's like, no, I'm from Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
And I was like, really? She actually lives in the outskirts of Buffalo, and her family has a farm. And I'm like, wait, there are farms in New York?
Yeah.
And then I did research and realized that New York has almost as many cows as California.
Yep.
More than just a city up there.
Yeah, I was like, what?
It's crazy, dude. I'm telling you, you'll be in New York and it'll be happening somewhere. In the city, it'll be happening, And then you said, Buffalo. There's I've been to Buffalo a couple times. My buddy lives there. And there's a town, and there's a little place to eat. You got your little strip and stuff like that. But after that, you get into Chicotagua and stuff like that. And it's man, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Especially if you go to Niagara Falls, dude. When you drive to Niagara Falls, it looks like you ever play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
You know that map? I think it's Rust or Warzone when it's just those old mills. That's literally what it looks like 90% of the way to Niagara Falls. It's like the hills have eyes. I'm serious.
I'm like, I'm going to be flying in.
Get out.
You are not expecting me to drive my personal car there.
You don't want to. It's a pretty drive. If you do it in the spring or the fall, it's pretty. All the leaves change, everything like that. But outside of that, stop for gas when you see a gas station and get some eat. If they sell it at that gas station, just keep on keeping on because there's nothing out there. I'm telling you.
You fill up.
Yeah. And the state troopers hide real well because they know the woods. So just do the speed limit. Because the town you're going to go to for the ticket, believe me, is in the middle of nowhere.
And they're going to need the money from that.
Oh, yeah. You're getting the money. I think I got a ticket in I forgot where I got a ticket, but I got a speeding ticket. Again, I built cars. I got a speed ticket and, I think I had to drive 6 hours to this little town. And the courthouse was a double wide and a little double wide. And I was like, man, you guys really? And you couldn't pay online.
Of course not.
No, you had to go there. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to get another ticket on the way here.
Best customer.
Cool. Yeah, double back. Just hit me with one every time I come through because I'm not doing 50 through here.
It's way too quiet.
I'm scared.
Right.
No street lights.
Oh, I like that.
What made you choose North Carolina out of all places coming down from New York?
I had it made in New York, man. I surfed when I wanted, fished when I wanted, worked when I had a really good network in New York.
Yeah.
So I was able to like, hey, I'm going to work this job Monday, Tuesday. Hey, I'm going to work this job Wednesday. Wait, there's waves Thursday. I'm not working Thursday. And then I'll work double time on Friday. But my ex-fiance and her family were like, oh, we're going to move to North Carolina. You want to come with us? And I was like, where are we going? You know what I mean? Like at that point, I was just like I said, having a little come into the universe moment. It was like, try something new. That happened there too. I lived in like this little this apartment about this big. And a shower was there. You know, I could make pancake, shower, and go to sleep all within, 10 steps of each other. And I was working as a tech and just, I wasn't making ends meet. It was tough. And I had another, little universe moment. It was like, do something. And then about that week, but it was awesome because like I said, I had reliable trucks. I could surf when I wanted, drive down to the beaches, the whole line. Loved it. But so then they were like, oh, we're moving to Carolina. I was like, okay. Sat down, said, we'll give it a try. Went down, tried it. And then I realized being inland, it just wasn't for me. I got super depressed. Like I'm talking one step away from blowing my head off depressed. I gained probably like 30 pounds. And then like I would drive out here on the weekends to surf. And then I was like, you know what? I got enough money to do it. Let me move here. And then that's when the universe said, "Psych, we're going to see what you're made of." So that's kind of how I end up here.
That's actually something I joke about with my wife too, is I'm quite religious myself, but every time I tell her that I have a plan in mind and I go towards that plan, God's always like, not your time, son. It's still on my time and this is how it's going to go.
How bad do you want?
Yeah, let's see how bad.
That's what builds the character though, man. It wouldn't be, if it was easy, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be talking to me. You wouldn't be here talking to me. And I feel like it's important to go through those hardships because at a certain point, you realize like it's all not worth anything but the moment, the connection, and the memory, if that makes sense. Like, I'm coming from experience here. A lot of people say, oh, I grew up, this, I grew up that. Hell, my mom used to send me to the store when food stamps were paper to get milk and bread and stuff like that. And then like, go to the food pantry. I remember I was like, in 8th grade, and back then I had like a little landscaping business and I'd mow lawns over the summer and save my money and stuff. And I'd be out there all summer mowing lawns, sweating like 8 shades darker than I am. Yeah. You know what I mean? Losing like 40 pounds. And I would, I'd have nice clothes because I didn't know nothing. I had no financial education. So like I'd get my money. I'd buy the nicest clothes to, try and get the girls at school and just be that dude. Yes. You know what I mean? Trying to be that dude. And I remember my mom would go to the pantry and literally this was dirty. This was cold. This was one of those things where God, Jesus, whatever you want to call him, was like, yeah, you think you're the man? And we had this little raggedy car. It was like a 1984 Tempo. And if you hit the brakes too hard, it would stall. And I'd be like, I was like 12 or 13. And like my mom would go to the food pantry across the street from the school. So if you were standing in front of the school and looked over, you could see who was going to the pantry. So I remember, I'll never forget it. I'd be crouched down in this seat and like, one of my super nice outfits, like, I hope no one sees me. I hope no one sees me. You know what I mean? But it's part of it. It's character building, and that's how, you need those tests and you need those things to realize what's truly important. And I guess, like I said, the important things are the people around you and the connections, because again, money could disappear tomorrow. Tomorrow the government could be like, hey, you know what? We're done with money. Yeah. And then if you were just some asshole taking advantage of people and, shysting, scamming, swindling, you ain't getting meat and you ain't getting cheese. So that's that answer.
I like that.
That kind of answers my the next question that I have is I'm glad you take my thunder. It makes my life easy. Watching you on Instagram and the positivity that comes off of those, I don't know how anyone could not smile watching them, first of all. But on top of that too, where did the positivity and the outlook on life come from?
The bottom, man. The bottom. I mean, like, again, I hate, one of the things I'm trying to fix in my life is to disassociate myself with the poor kid I was, because that comes with almost an emotional trauma and an identity crisis and a pain that isn't understood unless you come from something like that. Like, you know, you feel super insignificant. You feel like you don't matter. You feel almost as if you can't be yourself. Like when I was growing up, I couldn't walk around how I am now. Like now I'm who I am. You know, I was always real, and it got me in a lot of trouble because I was real and I was really aggressive. You know, growing up, I had to be a tough guy. I couldn't, bro, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be a historian. And, you know, I tell people that and they'd be like, that's some nerd shit. You know what I mean? Oh, that's some nerd shit. Ain't that's some dumb shit. You know, meanwhile, these dudes are selling nickel bags and dime bags and robbing their parents' purse and, you know, taking their girlfriend's car and smacking it up and all this other unnecessary, you know, ghetto drama. And when I wanted to be like, you know, this good kid, like, I mean, I was a gray area kid. I wasn't bad. I did some things, you know, I wasn't able to be who I was because like if I walked down the street, someone could try me, you know what I mean? But if I had this tough look on, this tough facade, nobody would really bother me. And then when they did try, you had to stand tall on it. You know what I mean? Like if someone said something to you that disrespected you or things like that, you had to hit them. There was no backpedaling.
Do it again.
Yeah, there was no backpedaling, you know, and I think that's something that society lost too. Not necessarily the tough aspect of things, but the defending and standing up for right and beat up the bully. But yeah, so the positivity came from, I lived in negativity long, man. I, you know, young kid, you know what I mean? I was a young kid. I've seen a lot of stuff that kids my age shouldn't see. And we won't go too much into that, but I've seen some things that sometimes when you were young, you didn't want to go to sleep at night because you didn't want to see it in your dreams. Wow. And those are things that molded me to today because I know what negative emotions do. I mean, you look around, you're like, all right, where we are right now. If you go outside about 6 blocks to the left, I know a kid that's scared because he beat up someone that was messing with his sister. And now the kid is involved in one of the shootings that's going on. You know what I mean? Not the kid who beat the kid up, but the kid who got beat up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, for a 14-year-old kid to have to worry about that, you think his world isn't dark? You know what I mean? So you think in the next couple of years, because he will, that little kid, I tell you, man, stay out of trouble. You know what I mean? When he comes out of that, he's going to be able to walk freely. When he grows into himself a little more, he's going to realize like, hey, what's going on around me doesn't have to define me.
Yeah.
And so that's where the positivity comes from. I know, you know, there's a power behind it. Not just for me. I don't do it just for me. Some days I'm like, man, this is crazy. I don't want to be positive today. But I have to. And, you know, it just comes from knowing that you have to be positive because if you choose not to be, you can, you know, it'll affect your life. It'll affect around you. Like having a dirty house, not outside, but inside. You know what I mean? It's like having a dirty house. You come home, your sink's full of dishes, dishwasher stinks, this, that, third. You're like, damn, man, I don't want to live here. Like this, you know, my house is a mess. Yeah. But then you clean it up and there's that second of bliss where it's like you smell the Febreze or whatever. You smell the pine sol on the floor. And it's like, yeah, I'm good.
It's that good mindset.
Exactly. And it's something that it's hard to control, but it's doable. So the positivity, it just comes from knowing what negativity does, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you can see it all around you know what I mean? You go to the lowest income area of every neighborhood and talk to those people and see how many positive things they have to say. There's maybe 5 out of 10 people with a light shining, but that light gets dimmed when they're around the rest of that 10 because they have to fit in. Otherwise they'll be a target.
Fantastic point.
And that's,
But you're shooting to be a light no matter where you go because you're working all around town. And if like your energy, your vibe, like brings up other people.
I
like
try
it changes,
my best to.
Like if you adjust your wavelength, because this is something I started doing like in the past year. Like when you mentally change what you're thinking about and you adjust your wavelength, you can affect everybody else around you.
And that's important.
Yeah.
Because we all got to row the damn boat. You know what I mean? Like we all got to row the boat. You know, the future is uncertain. And no matter what side of politics, race, gender, religion, this, that, the third, we need each other more than anything. So if you're not in a good space and you're not in a good space, odds are, guess what? I won't be in a good space because we're surrounded by each other. You know, and, you know, you just try to be, I think, like one of the greatest acts in the world is to inspire. I made it out of high school. I went to college for like I don't know, a couple months, and then I got bored, and like maybe like 3 years later, I had to pay bills and stuff. I had to drop out of college. About 2 years ago, I went back, and every time I was going to use my cell phone, I downloaded some college app like Penn Foster or something, and I downloaded it on my phone. So every time I wanted to use my cell phone, I would go on there instead, and I finished up like a little college course. And literally, it took me 6 months to do, and I did it anytime I was like, oh, let me go on Facebook. I'd be like, I pull my phone out, I'm like, nah, I'm going to do this. But what the hell was I going to say? Yeah, so, inspiring people and just getting people to try to be their best, because if we're all operating at our best, we're all a good hand to each other. Yeah. And not, again, it's not out of an immoral, like I'm not coming from a ground of, if I do good for you, you're going to do good to me. No, I know how the world works. I could give you $1 million and you could rob me next week for 10 million. You know what I mean? I know the ugly side of the world. I know how the underlings work. But if you try to just get people to be happy and positive and to just try to help people out, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're not here for yourself. It's like ants. You know what I mean? You're not here for yourself.
No, they're helping the whole group.
Exactly. And if you have a group, the power is in the people. And I mean, people forget that the power is within them. Like, I'm trying to think how to put it here. You ever been so pissed off one day and you just sit down and you're heated, you're ready to snap on everything. And then all of a sudden it just goes away.
Yep.
And then you might wake up the next morning and feel untouchable. Like, oh my God, you feel like a god. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's happening to you too, right?
Absolutely.
That weight is just kind of lifted and you're like, I don't know why it's happened, but it was meant to happen.
That's a true power, dude. That's a true power that humans harvest and they don't understand they harvest it. Like, can I go like real here or like?
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
All right. So everybody believes in God. Everybody believes in prayer. But so you sit down and you say a prayer, right? Mm-hmm. What do? You say, hey, thank you for everything. This is what I would like to, everybody has a little bit of selfishness in their prayer. They pray for a little something like, hey, let me get this rent money up, hey, let me get this couple dollars so I could do this. It's always in the prayer, correct?
Yeah.
Now you wake up in the morning and say, man, I'm hungry. I'm hungry as ever. What do? You get up, you make yourself some breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. What is the difference between that prayer you just prayed and what you did in the morning?
You did it yourself.
And that's where people forget. You have to put the work in, and then whoever you call upstairs will help you. Mm-hmm. And if you try to stay positive while doing it and encourage others to do it, eventually, hopefully, things will turn and it'll be, you know what I mean? Yeah, you lead the community, you lead, but you don't want a miserable leader. Everybody has a shitty boss. You know what I mean? You don't want to deal with a shitty boss. You know what I mean? So why do you want to deal with a shitty person? Not saying people are shitty people, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? There's so much different crap going on that everyone gets wrapped in up. It's like, man, just be good, be happy. You know what I'm saying? Smile. Even if you have a shitty day, come on the camera. Hey, what's up? You can be mad as hell. Like, you can BS, yada, yada, yada. There's days when, there's days it's 100 degrees. I'm up on the roof. I'm hating life. I'm not going to lie. Hating it. But I know it could be worse, so I smile. And guess what? I'll get upon the camera because I know someone else is in the damn underneath the crawl space. Guess where I don't want to be? Not in that crawl space. So guess what? As bad as it is up here, I'm going to smile and say my little, hey, how you guys doing? This is what I'm doing today. I'm happy. You know what I mean? I ain't in the damn crawl space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's really it on that topic,
Yeah. No, I'll give you props. I did outdoor construction work for a few years. Like I work for a brick mason in the summers down here. And I was like, first off, I definitely went at least 3 shades darker.
Yep.
And I had one summer, I'm like, oh, look, I have blonde hair. Yeah. And I didn't think that was possible. But man, it's a struggle. And I applaud you for getting up and smiling.
You have to.
And doing that.
Yeah, it could be worse, man. You could be dead. You could be in jail. You could be homeless. You could be a whole bunch of other things. You know what I mean? There's people in the world that don't even know they could. Truthfully, there's people in the world that don't even know they could be something. And that's the thing I try to change. Like, there's people in the, literally, if you have a plan, or just if you take someone, I had no guidance growing up. Mm-hmm. I grew up looking up to drug dealers and street dudes. You know what I'm saying? Where some people, they had, the lawyer on the block, the this, the that. I'm poor. I see a guy pull up with a Kawasaki Ninja and, an Escalade and a Mercedes. And then, I hate to say it, but 6 beautiful women get out. Like,
You're like, oh.
I'm in a cold house growing on frosted windows. Like, I want to be that dude. Like, he's got Escalade, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? That's the influence that most of the people in these lower areas get. You know what I mean? And that's the bigger portion of a community. So if you could inspire those people and show them, that was the whole plan behind my business. Like, yo, if I could do it, you could do it. No matter what it is. If I could look, I started with $50 pressure washer. Now, I'm not no huge company, but I started with $50 pressure washer and hustle. Yeah. That's all I had. And when I started, like I said, keys were in my hand when I got the house. There was no savings. There was no safety net. There was, my mortgage was paid. How am I getting the rest of it?
Right.
And, you know, if you could just be a positive influence on people, because you never know that, you know, people hold stuff well. You know what I mean? If somebody you know could be one step away from suicide, you could be talking to them, laughing with them, but and that little smile you put out or that little positive thing could stop it. And then, you know, if you tell people like, hey, this is what I did, this is how you do it, this, you could roadmap someone to take those steps to do something with themselves. You know what I mean? I have a buddy of mine who is down here. He was getting into some trouble, this, that, the third. He was detailing cars. He wanted me to, he wanted me to teach him how to pressure wash stuff. So I took him with me, taught him how to wash houses, this, that, the third. Now he's out in Tennessee washing houses for a living.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Changed up everything.
Yeah. And now here we go. Here's the thing. Not out of selfishness. It wasn't me that did it for him. It was him who did it himself. Did I show him things? Yes, but he put the effort in.
Yeah.
He put the work in.
You held the lantern and led the way until he was able to hold it. And
exactly.
Just keep going himself.
So if you be a positive influence, try your best to be a positive influence. Like I got little kids in the neighborhood. Every once in a while they come over, wash my car. You know, throw them $20 at them. They do a shitty job like that. But guess what? I got
still doing work.
That same kid that I told you about with the whole little sister situation. Yeah, he comes over the summertime 2 times a week. Once or twice every time. I don't know. He comes when he comes. He ain't got no. But he'll just text like, hey, I'm coming to mow your lawn. My lawn is about 4 good passes with a lawnmower in the back and maybe 5 in the front. He comes over, $20 into the thing for him. He mows my lawn. I know that as long as that 20 isn't gone, as long as that 20 is gone, he didn't get in no trouble. He didn't. Yeah. You know, he comes, gets his little money, minds his business. You know what I mean? He has his little business cards. I told him, give me 100 of them. We went out one day and we put them out. Just like I do mine. We put them out in the neighborhood. I showed them that, knock on doors, stuff like that. If you don't show people something, you can't learn without being shown. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if you grow up in an environment where things aren't shown to you, how are you going to learn something?
Exactly.
So, I learned everything figuring it out. Luckily, I was blessed enough to be able to get that opportunity to see there was another world out there. You know what I mean? To see like, whoa, this exists. And from there, I'm curious. I don't care who you are. I'll ask you a question. You got a $700,000 car in your garage. What do you do for a living?
How'd you get that car?
Yeah, exactly. How? Mm-hmm. And then most of the time, if you present yourself respectfully and conduct yourself and, well-mannered, things like that, people will talk to you. And that's another thing, I try to teach people, like I said, I grew up a little thug. I try to tell these other little thugs, like, yo, you don't have to be a little thug. Like, you don't have to, you're safe. You know what I'm saying? You're safe. Be yourself and, stray away from the pack. And, when you learn that conduct and how to talk and blend, because I could go sit in a room with a bunch of millionaires and have a great conversation. And then I could go to the whole opposite end of the spectrum and have a good conversation, but there's going to be different words used.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's going to be a different dialect. There's going to be different mannerisms, the whole 9. But when you figure out how to do that, you know what I mean? Someone has to show you how to do that. Mm-hmm. And that company showed me how to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. There is definitely going to be a part 2 of this series coming up on our time, unfortunately.
No worries.
Thank you so much, Thaddeus, for coming by today.
No problem.
I greatly appreciate taking time out of your day.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll for sure have to have you back.
Yeah, this conversation is not finished. So there will be a part 2 to this. Sorry, you're coming back again.
No worries.
But for everyone who is listening, thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. This is just going to be our second episode released. So appreciate everyone who's listening. Please share with everyone you know. This was a fantastic episode. I know there's some value you can get out of this, or at least someone that you know. You can find us on Spotify right now. We are working on some of the other podcasts to get involved in, and we will see you next week.
And last thing, where can they find you on social media?
I'm joking. You can find everywhere. No, you can Instagram at CSprayILM. And that's really it. I don't use Facebook, but it's there. It's Seaspray Exterior Cleaning, and then Google Well, if you're Googling, you just type in Seaspray ILM. Yeah. But if you're going to the website, it's www. Yeah, 3Ws.seasprayilm.com.
Nice.
Perfect.
And that's
And
me.
we'll drop you in the show notes too. So
Yeah,
we'll make
awesome.
it easy for them.
That way people can see and hear about the
It's just
smile
being
and
real.
that energy.
That's just the most important thing. It's not even like this is facade. It's just be real. And that's another thing people need to work on. But next episode.
Yeah, we will definitely hit on that for the next one. Appreciate everyone listening. Hit up Thaddeus.
Hit these guys up too. And it's not just about me. It's about everybody.
Appreciate it, man. And we'll see you all in the next one.
All right, have a good one.
Later.